Well, hello, friends. Today is going to be an episode I never in a million years thought I'd ever do. Lessons from a hurricane. I hope you'll listen. Welcome to Feng Shui Living, a podcast for busy women looking to de-stress and live with more intention. I'm Lisa Morton, and I'm passionate about helping you create a home that not only inspires you, but empowers you. Years ago, I was severely struggling with my mental health and wellness, and while I'd implemented yoga, meditation, therapy, and more, I just could not find that missing piece of the puzzle. And that was until I explored my home. You see, the interior designer in me had made it beautiful, but it wasn't supporting me energetically. Fast forward, and I've now been in the interior design industry for 20 years, and I've devoted the past 10 years to Feng Shui and a holistic design approach. In this podcast, I'll be sharing with you interviews, stories, and knowledge, as well as some super easy, simple tips that you can take on today. If you're looking to be more intentional and create a life and home that you love, then you're in the right place. Hello there, and welcome to today's episode of Feng Shui Living. I'm your host, Lisa Morton, and if you're new here, thank you for joining. I'm so happy to have you join our little community of Feng Shui goodness that we spread. I love to share about quick, easy things that you can do in your home to improve your life, to improve the energy of your home. If you love this episode, please share it with someone who may find it interesting. Today's episode is going to be a little different, though. Today's episode is going to be a little more of a personal experience along with some tips for you because, wow, did I ever learn some lessons. So I had to do something a few weeks ago that I never in a million years thought I would ever do. And that is actually clean up from a hurricane. Today's episode is all about lessons from a hurricane. And Helene came and took all my belongings with her, minus 2 boxes. We had keyword had, a really beautiful little home down in Florida. And it was really fun because it was very 60s. I think it was built in 62. And the previous owner had repolished and revamped a lot of the original things in the home that were still there, like the terrazzo floors. The original terrazzo floors were spectacular. They were throughout the entire home. So beautiful. We had this really groovy, cool turquoise door, and it was such a fun place. We were really fortunate to be able to do this and buy this home. This was our getaway home. This was our winter home where we would go and avoid the wild winters and all the snow. And man, am I ever going to miss that this year. It's going to be a cold, cold winter in Indiana. If you have a great soup recipe, please send it my way. But we worked really hard over the years, 20 years, we worked really hard to be able to do this. We had multiple businesses. We worked a lot. We had multiple side hustles. We had rental properties. And, this brought us this opportunity to have this getaway. And we were so excited. We worked so hard. And this was something that we really valued. We would go and both totally relax and get to do different things that we've never thought we'd ever get to do. We were a block and a half from the beach. We would walk and watch the sunset every night. We would literally be watching our watches and watching the clock and, we have 15 minutes. Let's walk down and watch the sunset every night. And it was such a beautiful, amazing experience. So it's been hard, and we had learned so many lessons from this tragedy. And I have to say, we were fortunate. It wasn't our main home. We didn't lose a lot of those valuable family heirlooms or important paperwork that a lot of our neighbors lost. We have many neighbors who lost everything. They have they've paperwork. They've everything is gone. They don't even have a place to live now. I actually talked to the gentleman who's coordinating the remediation in our home, and he said he's working with an 80-year-old man who's retired, who is living in a shelter now because his home was destroyed, and it's so sad. And while I hate to complain about losing my second home, there was a lot that went into that. This home provided us so much fun, including holiday celebrations, because we would spend most of winter. We would drive down with the dogs. The dogs and I would stay there. My husband would fly back and forth, taking care of work, and go back and forth. And we had amazing holidays, Christmas celebrations that we hosted, Thanksgiving here, countless birthday getaways to enjoy this space. And actually, one of my favorite memories was the first time we drove down with the dogs. This was after 18 hours of driving. The dogs had their first night in a hotel, which was interesting on its own. I remember we walked out of the hotel room in the morning, and if you know, I have 2 English Mastiffs, and Violet is a 170-pound dog. She's a big girl. And we go walking down the hall, and I think the housekeeping lady just about fell over when she saw Violet walk by. But we get to the house, and we were so excited that we were there, but also our sweet babies were there with us to spend the season of winter. And we run out to the backyard, take the phone, prop it up against a palm tree, and take a photo of the 4 of us. It was really fun. I had it in this cute picture right as you walk in, cute picture frame. It was one of the first things you saw when you walked in the house, and I loved it to pieces. So the hurricane happens, and fortunately we were not there. We were in Indiana. So we coordinated a flight, got down there as soon as we could, found a hotel about 30 minutes away, outrageous pricing. It was kind of frustrating. And we go to the house, and my father had actually flown down to help. And I was so nervous walking in because we have a woman who checks on our home. And she called me the day before, and she's like, she had gone by. She's like, Lisa, however bad you think it is, it's worse. Be prepared. So we pull up to the house for the first time, and we already knew it was going to be a big ordeal. We had to go through, they had security at the bridge, only allowing homeowners over to the island, over to get access. We knew it was going to be interesting. And when we got over there, we walked up to the house. I was literally shaking for this sweet little home that I loved so much, because you could see it was going to be bad. And we opened the door, and it was the most awful, gross home I've ever walked into. And we've walked into some really rough rental properties when we were considering buying them. They need a lot of work. This was a whole different type of, it was just so foul. Here's the thing. We ended up having up to 4 feet of water in the home. So it wasn't the wind, it was the water. We had 4 feet of water. So if you think about, that's like up to the back of the sofa, that's covering the beds. Everything was floating in the house. But then the aspect I didn't realize until I'd walked in was the sewers came up. That honestly didn't cross my mind. So not only was there 4 feet of salty seawater and all the junk that was floating in that, there was sewage water floating as well. The entire home was so incredibly disgusting. We had to wear masks, rubber gloves, rubber boots as we cleaned out, because we had to get down there to start pulling things out. In the 3 days we were working, pulling things out, you could see the mold growing. It was really, really foul. But wow, did I ever learn some lessons? I mean, goodness, thanks so much to our family for helping us, and for my father, who didn't complain one single time. You know, you have those people in your life that are so supportive, and maybe in the background when I asked him to help, I knew he'd be that person I needed. He never once complained. He was so positive. He's like, we're just going to get this done. We'll do what we need to do. No problem. It's all going to be okay. I really needed that at that time. I can't tell you how grateful I was. But I wanted to share with you, after this long story, I wanted to share with you 3 really big lessons that I learned going through this messy, smelly, gross, sad experience. So let's get into it. Lessons learned from a hurricane Here we go. 3 things. One is that things can be replaced. People cannot. While people are always 100% most important, it's still okay to be sad about the things. When I'd walked in and saw that favorite photo of us and our dogs upon arrival, it was laying upside down, broken in the sewage salt water. In some areas there was maybe half an inch of this liquid water on the floor, and it was upside down. The frame was upside down and broken, and that was so heartbreaking. This stuff, again, you can get a new sofa. We're submitting things to insurance. Who knows how that's going to turn out? But, those meaningful things, those meaningful moments. I had this beautiful kitchen island cart that actually my dad had built and put together. It was the cutest thing. It was like cobalt blue with this natural wood top, the cutest. And here he was having to help me take it out to take it to be dumped. We literally had to pull everything out of the house and put on the curb. I was able to save 2 boxes of items. And unfortunately, they weren't necessarily the items I wanted. I mean, I was joking to people. I had this favorite pair of sandals still with the tags on that I didn't get to wear. And my favorite Lululemon yoga pants were down there. And I was so bummed, but it's not that stuff. It's those meaningful things that were really hard. I felt so bad asking my father, who had built that cart for me, that kitchen island cart. I felt so bad asking him to take it out to the dump. He was really great about it, of course. As I said, he was fantastic. But it's important to remember that just because it's not my main home, just because I didn't lose everything, just because it wasn't an expensive piece, or I don't know, doesn't mean that you need to gloss over it and act like it didn't happen. The next thing I wanted to share that I learned was that I will never go through this again. It was the most foul, gross, dirty, bad experience I've ever had to clean out and do. It was so smelly. All the furniture was soaked with this nasty water. The cabinets, they were swollen shut. You couldn't even open things. We had to just throw things in boxes. We went to Home Depot and got boxes and just threw everything in. The clothes, the bedding, the furniture pieces, the towels, all the stuff everywhere had this just disgusting water on it. All had to go. And I think I'll forever have that smell in my nose. I don't think I'll ever forget that smell. And interesting enough, I had a talk with a mentor of mine named Gail, and she was telling me that she had a house fire. It was a major house fire, and she lost her home to the fire. And she said to this day, she'll never sit by a fire pit. You know how it's nice to sit in the fall time of year out by a fire pit? She said she'll never do it because she'll get that smell on her clothes, and it just brings back so many memories. So maybe we'll get to Florida again someday. I don't know what's going to happen with this rebuild. It's such a mess. We don't even know what's possible at this moment. But I know I am confident in saying I will never do a clean out like that ever, ever, ever again. And number 3, the third lesson I learned, which is by far the most important, and that is to get your ducks in a row, folks. Get your ducks in a row. Get the papers coordinated, put things in order, have plans, have systems, check around your home. So here's what's interesting. The last time I was down at the house prior to the hurricane, I was going through some paperwork, some receipts and stuff, and something I'd purchased, and we had this drawer that was near the floor, the bottom of this cabinet, and that's where we kept important paperwork. The title of the jet ski, the receipt from when we bought our kayak, like our fun toys, but then also like important paperwork that we needed to have for the house. For some odd reason, that caught my attention, and I said, geez, that's really silly that we're storing this near the floor. Could you imagine if there was a hurricane and water came in the home, this would be destroyed. We wouldn't have any of this paperwork. And so I took all that paperwork and put it in a box, put it up high in a shelf, in a closet, way up high. Thank goodness I did that. Thank goodness I did that. Because we had all that important paperwork. All the paperwork about the house, about purchases we'd made, receipts, a lot of things that we needed for insurance. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that caught my eye and that I moved it. So this is your reminder to get your ducks in a row. Check in with your paperwork. And you may not live where there's a hurricane, but you never know. Check in with your paperwork. Check in with things you need to know. Check in with your kids. Do you have a disaster plan? I mean, in fall, I always stress to my clients, this is a great time to check in with your home as you're doing those fall projects of checking in with the outdoor spigots and undoing the hoses for the gardening, and things like that. Also walk through your space and do those safety security checks. Make sure you have a plan, a system for your family should there be an emergency. What do you do? Who do you call? How do you handle things? Check in with your smoke detectors. Walk through the house. Start and go in a clockwise direction so you don't miss anything. Check every smoke detector. Check carbon monoxide detectors. Check out your fire extinguishers. When was the last time you checked the date on your fire extinguishers? Do you have fire extinguishers in your house somewhere? That's so important. I always think of these types of things as if you're a yogi, you'll get this, very root chakra thing. So we have these energy centers in our body, very similar to the Bagua map that we use in your home. And the root chakra is all about like getting stable, getting supported, kind of grounding like the earth element. But it's also about really doing those things that we need to do. We have to pay our bills. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to eat well. We have to do those things that maybe we don't always want to do. Like sometimes we want to live our life in those upper chakras where it's like floaty and daydreamy and magical, but it's important to do those things. So do those root chakra things. This is your reminder. I want you to pull out your planner, pull out your calendar on your phone, and find some time to get your ducks in a row. This is easy to push off. I'll do it another day, but I want you to schedule it right now. Let me know. Send me the date. I'm going to check in with you. I'm not joking. If I can provide any support, let me know. I have some great checklists too. If you follow my newsletter, if you get my newsletter, I'm going to send out a checklist this week of things to check in with your home for fall before we move into those winter seasons. And you may not live in a location where it gets cold and windy and tons of snow like I do, but there's still so many important things to check in with. So make sure you're getting my newsletter. If you don't, hop over to my website and sign up for my weekly newsletter along with that, with random information depending on what's going on in our lives and the world. You'll also get then weekly links to my episodes along with any special events going on. So make sure you sign up. Oh my goodness, friends. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be able to share this with you because it was a huge growth moment for me. I think I'm still actually recovering a little bit. I could tell my nervous system was really struggling after spending a week there doing that, still just going through paperwork and creating spreadsheets of things for insurance and phone calls. And oh my gosh, it's a headache. But I'm grateful for you listening. I hope this provides you with some information, some peace if you've ever gone through this. If anyone has gone through an experience like this, let me know. I'd love to connect. All right, friends. I will see you next time. Take care. Special thanks to our production company, Influencer.tv, the WELT 95.7 studios, and our sponsor, Good She. For more information, head over to the show notes. Be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. I'll see you next time.